Hey nerds, we are talking about the new Hulu series, The Other Black Girl. We're going to review the season starting now. Welcome to the Nerd Social. I'm Nathan.
Hi, and I'm Paula.
Hey, so we got vast greetings of this show about a month ago. Just have been a little bit busy with other work to review it. I was in Kenya last week, and now Chandra is in Bangladesh this week. So we're going to probably do a more spoilery review of this with Chandra when she comes back. But Paula and I are going to do a review just talking about the season, trying to avoid all the things that we were told not to spoil in the long list that they sent us, just talking about the season. This drops on the 13th. Hopefully we will have this review out by the 13th or maybe a little bit before. This show was developed by Zakiya Harris, who wrote a book by the same name, and also Rashida Jones, who you might know from Parks and Rec, and also is the daughter of Quincy Jones. So they both developed this show. The spoiler-free logline that is on IMDb for this is: The Other Black Girl follows Nella, a African-American editorial assistant who works at a white NYC publishing firm. She gets excited to have a black coworker when the new girl, Hazel, arrives, but is she friend or foe? So I guess we can just talk about our general thoughts about the season, and then we can get into some details without spoiling too much. So Paula, what did you think of the show?
I thought it was surprisingly a great show. I thought it started really slow, but by the end of the season, I was pleasantly surprised. So, great show.
Yeah, I liked it a fair amount as well. I think that the show is trying to do a lot of things. I think since Jordan Peele did Get Out, there's a lot more. I guess this is horror, but it's more like, it's not even really horror. It's a little bit of a comedy, a little bit of a drama, a little bit of like thriller. It's kind of like a thriller. Without giving too much away. Yeah, there's the horror aspects, the way they shoot some of the episodes, there's like horror aspects to it as well. So yeah, it's a really interesting show. So Hulu actually reached out to us about interviewing the director of the first and the 9th episode, but she's also one of the co-executive producers on the show as well, Mary. So we might do that. We're still talking about that internally to get a little bit more insight on the show. But yeah, I liked it a fair amount. They also provided us with a bit more like text. So like this, they said that The Other Black Girl is a genre bending look at the poisonous nature of tokenism in the world of publishing. But beyond that, it's also a story of a woman finding her power in a system designed to make her feel powerless. And it's a cautionary tale about what any system based on competition forces Black women, but indeed all marginalized people to do. So yeah, so you think at the very beginning of the show it's going to be about one thing, as the logline says, maybe this person is a friend or a foe, but it's about that, like what on the surface, but it's also about, as that description says, competition and also the compromises people make, or you have to make in this world sometimes, or you feel that you have to make, and there isn't, again, without giving too much away, this one of the other things that they say is that there isn't like an easy villain either. It's not clear. From a certain point of view, you can see where people are coming from. Even if what they're doing is extreme, you can see where they're coming from and why it makes sense to them. I also appreciated this because I recently also watched Dreaming Whilst Black, which is another show that out of the BBC, which has some of the same themes about compromise and what Black people have to do to compromise in like the corporate world. But I feel like that was a little bit more heavy-handed, and I feel like the white people that they wrote for that show were a little bit more one note. And while white supremacy and like white power structures is definitely a villain in this show, not every white person is written as a villain in this show. And I feel like that the other show was written like that. All the white people were written kind of one note and clueless. Not that there isn't a bunch of clueless white people in this show. There are, and some of that cluelessness and also comedy and also unease and cringiness, because some of these people that are clueless are in control of our protagonist's life. What's her name? Sorry, Nella. So yeah, their cluelessness has a cost and a detriment to her career advancement. So yeah, it's like I said, I think we can talk about it. We can talk about the individual performances as well. I think Nella, the actress who plays Nella, Sinclair Daniels, does a really great job. So does Ashley Murray, who plays Hazel. She has a way of, you really don't know what's behind her, what she's thinking, and you can see it both ways, especially the first couple couple episodes until you get her backstory or get an idea of who she actually is later on in the season. So I actually watched a couple of these episodes with my wife before I went to Kenya for work. And we were talking back and forth about whether or not, because there's something big happens in the first episode with the new girl. And it's explained away in the second episode. And as an audience member, you're off kilter with Hazel and her behavior the same way that Nella is, right? She doesn't know what to believe. And very early on, you don't know what to believe either, or how to take her behavior, which I really appreciate how they wrote the first couple episodes to unwind the mystery very slowly. I don't know what you thought about that.
Yeah, the first few episodes, you just really didn't know if she was going to be a friend
Right.
or a foe. And to be honest, when it ended, I still wasn't sure if she was going to be a friend or a foe.
And I think that they leave it somewhat ambiguous as well. I guess this could possibly have a second season. It also, the way that they ended it, this could just be the one season. Yeah, you don't know because, so the other part of the description that they gave us, or the other part of the note that the creators gave us, was that when they started adapting Zakiya's book, they knew they didn't want to shy away from the messiness she portrays between the various Black women. And their relationships are messy. And like I said, from a certain point of view, you can see Hazel's point of view and why she does the things that she does. And you can also see Nella's point of view because they both make compromises. It's really about like how far they are willing to compromise. And I think that's the central conflict between the two of them, how much they want to compromise. Because I think Hazel has later on in the season has a list of things she tells Nella. She's like, you're working at this white firm, you went to a very white school, like you made compromises along the way, right? So it's interesting. Yeah. The other thing they said, that it didn't feel right to us to sanitize such a complicated message by making the white dude the villain or reducing Nella and Hazel to good or bad. The way in which women can sometimes sabotage each other intentionally or unintentionally is a sensitive and uncomfortable topic, but it's also an honest one, and we hope it will open during the conversation. Like I said, I really want to be able to talk about this in more detail when Contra comes back, when we can talk about the specifics. But like we're recording this a day before it's going to release. It's 10 episodes, and I think the episodes are 30 minutes or an hour. I forget how long they are. They're 30 minutes. I guess you could finish this
30.
in a day, but I doubt a lot of people are going to finish this in a day in the middle of the week. So it doesn't really, we can start talking about spoilers, but it wouldn't be fair to people who didn't have like weeks to watch it like we did. So we'll definitely come back and have a longer conversation and actually talk about the specifics and not dance around the things that I'm trying to dance around. Because like I said, they gave us a specific list of things not to talk about. And we're even not even talking about any plot points really. But yeah, it's definitely between these two women there, but there are a lot of other supporting casts as well that do a really good job. So beyond them, there is her best friend, which she might have been my favorite character, Malaika.
Yeah.
She was like a Nancy Drew or something. She definitely wanted to figure out what was going on with Hazel.
Yeah, and she definitely brings a lot of comic relief.
So she has a boyfriend named Owen. He's fine. He's supportive. He's white and he's supportive. Like there's a bunch of things that they like the description that I just now read could have done. Like he could have been like an annoying person. He could have been not supportive, but they didn't really fall into the tropes that I expected them to fall into. When I was watching the first episode with my wife, I was like, oh wait, she went to UVA and Nella went to UVA, and that's a school where they were marching with tiki torches back when 145 was president. And at this point, we know that Hazel went to Howard. So I thought that was going to be a clash between the two of them, but that they didn't take the obvious route there either. So yeah, there are like well-worn tropes and obvious things that we've seen over and over again now that we have a little bit more Black-made media and Black-made movies and television shows, and they don't necessarily run over or reuse those tropes. They subvert some of those tropes, and like the description that I read says, they try to sit in the messiness and the complexity of actual real-world relationships, which I appreciate. I do have some questions about some of the resolutions and the reveals at the very end. Some of them didn't work as well as I would like, but like for the most part, I really enjoyed this season. I watched, like I said a little bit before I left for Kenya, and I watched the rest of it while I was in Kenya, even though I was doing other work. And that's how interested I was in finishing off the season. So yeah, I think it was a good watch. I think most people who are interested in this show, just on the premise in the trailer, will be pleasantly surprised, and also pleasantly surprised because there's like twists and turns throughout the season and like shocking things that happen throughout the season. So it'll be enjoyable for most people.
Yeah. And then it's a lot of depth to it. That was surprising to me. In a good way.
It definitely has some depth. And I think it lends itself to conversation, like real conversation, as the description that I mentioned. I'm really looking forward to getting into that conversation and talking about some of the conflicts and the trade-offs, the personalities in this show. There definitely are some white people in this show, like I said, that are not necessarily tropey. White people that sometimes that you meet in a professional life, if you are a person of color, that are some that think that they're well-meaning, some that think that they're helping and aren't necessarily doing that, and some that are just super annoying and like try hard. Yeah, it runs the gamut. But like I said, they also have more three-dimensional and people as well, like her boyfriend. So yeah, it's a really good show. So how would you rate this? I don't want to go on too long with our conversation unless you have something else to add.
No, what I want to add is full of spoilers. So
yeah, it's hard to it's really hard to talk about this. Like there's also there's the other actors that are in here that you would know is Eric McCormick plays a big role in this as the owner of the publishing company, and what's her name, Bellamy Young, who you may know from Scandal. If you watch Scandal, she was the president's wife in Scandal. And the other character that shows up in here, and I'm actually not going to say who she is because that's a little bit of a spoiler, but Garcelle Beauvais, who was in the Jamie Foxx show, but also very recently she showed up in Survival of the Thickest. It was a Netflix show. So she's been busy. She's been inactive for a while. I mean, in the last month, I've seen her twice in 2 different series. So she shows up here as a very important character as well. So yeah, it's a good cast, and the two main actresses play their roles very well, I think. So how would you rate it on our scale here from a 1, which is a dumpster fire, all the way to a 10, which is a theater rental?
I will rate it on our scale here. I will rate it a 7. Definitely a show worth watching and dissecting with friends and over good food and good wine.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, some of the elements at the very end with the reveals were a little weaker than I would have liked, but like I had a lot of fun. With this show. So I think I'm going to give it a 7 as well, Dinner Party, just because it's not 10 hours, maybe it's 5 hours. I don't think that you'd want to necessarily go out and watch this and take a road trip to watch this, but I think that this could be like a strong 7.5 actually, because you could talk about this over Dinner Party for a while. This would be really interesting, a dinner party conversation. So it's a really good watch, I think. All right, but we want to hear what you guys think once you actually finish the season. So please comment down below, like, share, and subscribe, and we will catch you in our spoiler conversation later. Bye guys. Thanks.